My name is Keith, and from the time I was about 4 years old, I was interested in being a part of the entertainment business. And I've done many things throughout that time, from singing in bands, writing music, hosting television shows, everything involved in the professional wrestling business. And I've written comic books, done a lot of things, and almost all of those things failed in some way or another. But I still kept going. I still wanted to continue to create. And there's just something in me that drives me to create. And I started thinking, well, what is it that drives anyone to create? And that's going to be the point of this podcast. We're going to talk to people from all aspects of the entertainment industry. We're going to find out what made them interested in creating art, and why, when faced with success, when faced with failure, the ups and downs of life and life in the entertainment business, they continue to create. So, and hopefully we'll have some good and interesting conversations along the way that you'll be interested in hearing. So tune in to the Most Excellent Entertainment Podcast. Hey, welcome to the Most Excellent Entertainment Podcast. And this week we are joined by a man who is a musician, a filmmaker, a documentarian, an athlete. I'm sure he's got some other hats that he wears that we'll talk about. Mr. Sagal.
How are you guys?
I'm doing great, man.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Before we get into this, I want to talk a little bit about how I came across you, because it's an interesting story, sort of. There was a band called Shackleford Brown. They were like a southern rock band out of Texas.
Okay.
And I heard about them on YouTube, and I really enjoyed their music.
Okay.
So I went on Discogs to see if I could get a CD, and there was someone who had one for sale. Okay. And he just happened to send along one of your CDs as well as like a bonus. He's like, well, if you're into Texas independent music, you might like this too.
Yeah.
And man, I really liked it. It was really cool. Pop punk, like your vocals were really, really good on it.
Thanks.
There's a song where you're kind of making a statement about the music industry that, as someone who's been involved in entertainment, that resonated with me personally.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, man,
that's bizarre. They have to. Yeah. That's funny, because at this point they have to give my shit away for people to listen to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least if they're going to hear it in Indiana,
that's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah,
so funny.
I really, really enjoyed the music, and I was like, I'm going to see if I can find this guy.
Man, I appreciate that very much. That's cool.
No problem, man. So, let's start out with music. Was that basically your entryway into creativity, or?
Yeah, well, yeah. So before that, I was an athlete kind of my whole life. I grew up playing soccer, and went to college on a scholarship and played pro for a couple of years, and then I got hurt. I got injured and had surgery on my knee, and then I was like, "What?" I was like, "I don't know what to do with my life at this point." The guitar had been kind of getting passed around my college buddies, and an acoustic guitar, and I really took to guitar. Like I taught myself how to play, and when I was recovering from knee surgery, I was like, I just want to start to write songs and see if I can do this. And I always loved music, like since I was a little kid, but had never attempted to sing or try to write anything that resembled any kind of cohesive lyrics at all. But and then I just was like, this is cool. I fell in love with it. My career was cut short athletically. I never really recovered from the surgery or from the knee problem. And then I just started to put together some bands. I had a lot of poetry kind of in some notebooks all over the apartment at the time, and I was like, these could be cool songs. And just started to pick another career that could make me even less money than athletics.
Yeah. If you were a soccer player like in Argentina or something, you'd be rich.
Well,
Like even
listen,
just to play
yeah,
for a couple of years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, like when I was doing this, like there were really no Americans that were playing in Europe except for my
Oh,
brother and I. So we went over there, but there was no money in it back then,
oh,
like
man.
it is now.
Right.
Um, so it was great experience. You know, I got to learn a couple languages and live in Europe and meet girls and the whole thing, and it was cool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's it. Now my kid plays and he's super serious and
Awesome.
um, but yeah,
Yeah, that is one of the things about art. Like, even even if you're not what you would consider like super successful on a
yeah,
worldwide level, you can still travel through it.
totally.
Whether you're an athlete or a musician,
Yeah.
you get a lot of opportunities to see the world. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and that stuff. I mean, listen, I don't know you, or
Sure.
I can tell that you're one of my peeps, so I just I get that vibe. But like you and I both know, dude, like in the end, like we're just left with these experiences anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just photos and snapshots of experiences in life. And for me, and I think probably for you too, like who probably resonates with this, it's like that's the important stuff. You know what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
the financial end of this thing, it would be great, and but in the end, it's like it's just about what these portraits that you're taking, in your
Yeah.
head, and so that's what really we're left with. So
Yeah. I mean, I've written probably 300 songs,
okay,
and
cool.
people people come to me. Sometimes I think my lyrics are better than what I hear on the radio. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
just how I feel.
yeah,
And people come to me and they're like, "Why don't you try giving your songs to other people?"
right,
And I'm not saying I wouldn't do that,
yeah,
but they're like, you could make some money as a songwriter. And
yeah,
I'm like, it's not really about
yeah,
making money as a
yeah,
songwriter. It's about creating these songs and making this music. And,
yeah,
even at 50, it's something that I still
yeah,
want to do. I mean, it's just,
totally.
it never stops.
Yeah, man, that's cool. That's cool. I didn't know that you were a songwriter, and that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of been all over the place with the creative stuff.
Why are you doing this now? Like, what is this about?
Okay. Yeah. So basically, I have been in bands. I've written songs. I've been a professional wrestling promoter. I've actually done a bunch of stuff in pro wrestling.
Oh, nice,
Um,
cool.
yeah, I've hosted TV shows.
Okay,
I attempted to write a comic book back in the '90s that I never actually finished.
okay,
Um, but the thing is, like, if you look at my career, if you will,
yeah,
I've probably been more unsuccessful than I have successful through the eyes of the world.
sure,
But I never want to stop. There's
yeah,
just something inside of me that makes
yeah,
me want to keep going.
yeah,
And I got interested in, like, because my creative process has been all over the place. Like, I started
yeah,
out as a musician and ended up as a wrestling promoter, and now I'm a
sure,
podcaster. Like, how does that happen?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I wanted to like explore other people's journeys through
yeah,
their creative process, and then find out why they keep going.
yeah.
You know?
I would bet that you're finding out through this that there's a really a common thread
Yeah,
between creatives,
absolutely.
and I really do think that typically our Achilles heels rather probably is that because I just heard you say it, it's like we're full of ideas,
Yeah,
but the follow through element is lacking for a lot of us.
yeah.
And what we really need, and I'm speaking for myself, but maybe this holds true for you, is what creatives really need is somebody to help with the other half of the part that we're deficient in,
Yeah.
because all the dopamine hits and all that stuff that we love, right? It comes from the creative, the build out of it. But once it comes to actually like either marketing it or branding it, which I like to do, but it's still the creative part. But the
Mhm.
business and the organizational part of things doesn't interest creatives. Certainly doesn't interest me. So
Yeah.
I'm just moving on to the next project because
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what, fuck it. Like I did it. I feel good about it. I recorded that. You know what I mean? It's out
Yeah.
there in the ether now, but like, what's next?
Yeah. Well,
So,
that's like this whole podcast thing. So it's an idea. I've known forever that I wanted to do a podcast. I didn't know what I
yeah,
wanted to be about. I didn't know what I wanted the focus to be, but I knew that I wanted to do it. And
yeah,
then when I met Tyler, and he actually has no interest in being on camera. Whenever he has to do that kind of stuff, it makes
right.
him nervous. He hates it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he loves putting it together and editing
yeah,
it and making it something that you can give to people.
yeah,
That's not my thing,
right.
So the two of us getting together,
Yeah,
um, and it was kind of the same thing with the wrestling stuff. Like, oh, I was so bad with the money when
yeah,
I was running wrestling shows
yeah,
because I just wanted to put on the
yeah.
best possible wrestling that I could. I wanted to tell
Totally.
the greatest story I could,
Yeah,
I ended up blowing so much money running wrestling shows. That's and then
yeah,
I brought in a partner who was a little more conscious of the money,
yeah.
and he ended up selling the company.
Okay,
Uh,
gotcha.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where
Very,
that
yeah,
went.
super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's great that you found, listen, you found somebody like Tyler that's helping you put this together, because probably without a guy that is interested in the other half, it doesn't
yeah,
happen.
right. It would just be ideas
Right.
floating around, and I'd be like, "How do I make this happen?"
Totally.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah. So once you picked up the guitar
Yeah.
and taught yourself how to play, how long was it before you realized that you could sing? Like, where did you find your voice in that?
Well, listen, I appreciate you using the word sing, because um I knew that I couldn't really sing, but I was, but I grew up. My heroes really, or a lot of my heroes, like really couldn't sing. So like,
Right.
Dylan and uh, Phil Oakes and Neil Young could sing a
Neil
little
Young.
bit. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like those
Yeah.
guys, those songwriters. I'm like, you know what? I can do that. It's like vocal styling, right?
Right.
So I'm like,
Right.
okay,
Sure.
that's something that I think I could pull off.
Yeah.
And so that's really where I don't think I really, there wasn't a moment where I was like, oh yeah, I can sing like a real singer. But there was a
Right.
moment where I was like, I think I can do that and deliver the message in a way that is folksy, even in a rock, even with a rock backdrop, but still a storytelling. Some of it's, teeters on, speaking slash
Yeah.
speaking with melody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I listen. I wish I could sing. It really is one of those things that I'm like, if I could come back as another person, it would be, I really love singers. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, personally, I mean, I think you sound great on the Jab CD.
I
So that's
appreciate that.
you know, that's really all I've heard at this point. I did see that you had some stuff on Spotify, and I was going to listen to it. My son got sick, and I didn't have a
Oh,
chance,
all right.
unfortunately. Yeah, he's
Okay.
feeling better now, but
Okay.
I've
Good.
just had a busy couple weeks. So,
Okay. Good.
um, yeah. But oh, geez, I had a question, and
Yeah.
oh
No.
no, I was just going to say,
Yeah.
with Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
So I feel like Bob Dylan found a lane that
Yeah.
people, because if you listen to Lay Lady Lay,
Yeah.
Bob Dylan can sing,
Yeah. It's
you
true.
know? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
found out it was Bob Dylan, I was just like,
I
wow,
know. I
you
know.
know?
I know.
But people always mention Bob Dylan and Neil Young and Mick Jagger as guys who can't sing but sound great.
Yeah. 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 It's probably
But
not fair.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Bob
It's
Dylan
probably
can
not
sing,
fair.
I mean,
Well,
but
yeah. Go ahead.
oh no, I just remember when American Idol became a thing, and people would always
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
Bob Dylan
Yeah.
would never win American Idol. Like I
Right.
saw that so many times, but
Yeah.
I feel like if Bob Dylan went out there and used his voice and used his presence,
Hmm.
maybe he would have won American Idol.
Right.
I mean, there's more to it than
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the phrasing and what he's talking about, and I
yeah,
mean, there's such a genius in that.
absolutely,
What
yeah,
what I always find so interesting in just in switching artistic genres for a second, it's like, I used to manage like these kid bands, these rock bands, and we would talk a lot about kind of, you know, development and etc., like developing as an artist and stuff. And I always used to bring up this kind of like Picasso analogy because, you know, you grow up and you see, you know, these kind of famous Cubist Picassos, you know, like in the museums and stuff.
Yeah.
But the guy could actually paint. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of it goes into your Dylan example, right? If you really look back at Picasso, like the guy could like paint like Da Vinci. You know, he was
Sure.
schooled as a real painter, right? And so he could paint portraiture, he could paint like a realist portrait, but you never would gather that because he became famous for that lane that he
Yeah.
picked. But it
Yeah.
wasn't. But his background, like he could do it all. You know what I mean? But he just
Right.
decided like that's kind of his thing. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so there is something interesting to that in terms of like, do you need all that background? You know what I mean? There's certainly a school of thought. I can't read music. I don't know if you can, but there is a school of thought, right? Where like, you know what? Like if you had that as a backdrop and that was your foundation and your base, and then you're building off of that, then well, then you're kind of you're a real musician at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I
So
mean, I think you'll get this. Like, I feel music. You know, I
yeah,
feel the space, and I
yeah,
feel. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess, but yeah. To me, music is emotional. You
yeah.
know, I mean, there's certainly a technical aspect, and I enjoy, classical music and Dream Theater
Hmm.
and things, that are more technical, Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah,
But to me, my music at least comes from somewhere, outside of myself
yeah,
almost,
yeah.
where I'm tapping into like emotion.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah. So
that's the magic of it. Like when the songs happen, right? And people, a
yeah,
lot of songwriters explain the same thing. It's like when your antenna's up and that thing happens, it's like it really is one of the most bizarre, kind of
yeah,
unexplainable moments, right? When the
yeah,
inspiration happens,
yeah.
it's just you don't know where it's come from, and you just kind of ride the wave and then hope that the next one comes.
Right. Yeah. With me, it's always either I hear a drum beat and I
Okay.
have no idea where it came from,
Oh,
or a
interesting. Yeah.
phrase. I'll just
Or what?
a phrase.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, like a vocal melody with a
yeah,
phrase,
yeah,
and then it'll just all of a sudden I've got a song.
yeah.
I just and sometimes I have to work with it for a while to get it where I want it to be, but then other times it just comes out, and I'll
Okay.
write like a great song in 2 hours. Or in my
Yeah.
opinion, it's a great
Yeah, of
song.
course.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
yeah,
can't
it's
wait to listen to your stuff after this. You have to send me access to your music. I'd love to listen
oh
to
for
that.
sure, yeah.
Cool.
Well, see, here's the weird thing. So I was in a studio exactly one time. All my
Okay.
other stuff was live bands.
Oh, nice.
We played out, yeah, and
Okay.
I recorded one song that was on MySpace, and
Hmm.
now it's essentially gone. But
Oh no.
I'm actually working with a friend of mine who plays predominantly Christian death metal.
Oh, nice.
Too,
Okay.
but he's a really good musician and he's a really good
Yeah.
producer. So I'm
Yeah.
actually working with him at 50 to put out what'll be like my first full length album, and I'm hoping to have it
That's
early in the
cool.
year, early next year. Yeah,
That's
yeah. So
exciting.
yeah, I mean, and this has kind of sparked it because I had kind of put music to the side. You know,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was I was really prolific in my 20s and early 30s.
Okay.
Um, and then and that was when I got in the studio uh, and recorded that one song, which I thought came out really well. Everybody said it sounded like Bon Jovi, which I was a little insulted by, but
Listen,
Bon Jovi,
there's nothing wrong with Bon Jovi. I've seen
yeah,
Bon
yeah,
Jovi.
yeah. But I, I thought it came out well, and now I'm just gonna revisit it, see what we're doing here. So, and
Nice.
you've got something new coming out too, right? You said.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm kind of halfway through a new project with a producer that I'm not sure which record you had, but I'm not sure if he had did
It's
that
the one
one.
with like the stars on it. It's gray
Oh
and it's got the
yeah,
stars on
yeah.
it. Yeah.
No, he didn't do that one. He did maybe no, he didn't do that one. He did the one after that. But yeah, this guy. So I'm living in Texas now. I've moved out of LA and I'm in outside of Dallas.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm back in the studio with this guy. His name is Casey DiOrio. Great guy, really good producer. Has done a bunch of cool shit. And
Cool.
yeah, I just had a bunch of songs over the last 6, 7 years. Um, and I'm kind of in the Velvet Underground, Lou Reed kind of
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, so it's kind of a collection of 5 songs that we're like halfway through, and super cool, super fun,
Nice.
and
Yeah, for
glad
sure.
to be back doing that creatively. And
Right.
yeah, so probably another couple months and I'll be done with it.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely want to check it out, man. I'm
Yeah, it's
interested.
cool. It's definitely
Yeah.
cool. It's different.
I enjoy Lou Reed and Velvet Underground and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
funny because I was aware of them, as a kid, but what really got me aware of them was Dramarama's cover of Femme Fatale,
yeah,
which is an interesting. I mean, I knew Lou Reed, but as far
yeah,
as getting into the Velvet Underground, and then when I was 18, I was in a band that covered Sister Ray and Sweet
okay,
Jane,
yeah,
and I had never heard either one of those songs, and I was
okay,
really
yeah,
into like punk rock, so I
yeah.
kind of turned them into punk rock songs without.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it was really. I liked them. They were really good live. It got the crowd going, and a lot of
Yeah,
people didn't even realize that it was
yeah.
Velvet Underground songs. So that was pretty cool. Yeah,
I got into Velvet Underground super late. Like
yeah,
I didn't get it, and I really wasn't like. I mean, I'm talking about like I didn't really discover Lou. Like, of course, I knew who Lou Reed was from the
right.
beginning, but like he was like outside of my taste.
Yeah,
Uh,
well,
and but like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I like all of a sudden I like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Like
yeah,
I get this guy, and then I took like a crazy deep dive into into Velvet Underground and what Lou Reed was like, and I was like, wow, this guy's out there, and like he
yeah,
lives it's crazy. I didn't know like about his personal life or anything like that.
right.
And then his connection with David Bowie, who I wasn't a big David Bowie fan at all. That wasn't my thing either.
Yeah,
Do
I
you like
love
David
David Bowie.
Bowie?
I love David Bowie.
Yeah,
Yeah, since I was a
yeah.
kid, one of my favorites. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. I didn't
yeah,
understand them either. I'm like, and then all of a sudden, those two, I was introduced to them together, and I'm like,
nice.
wow, this is. It's like talk about like artists. Like these guys define that whole thing. You know what I mean? They're not just musicians. They're just artists.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean, David Bowie was. I mean, the way that David Bowie created those characters
yeah,
and then translated it into music. I mean, it was amazing how it was like a big multimedia thing before that was
yeah,
really a thing.
totally.
He created this whole experience.
Yeah,
I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
yeah,
People never they talk about his genre hopping a lot, but they don't talk
yeah,
about how he would completely reinvent himself as a public person
yeah.
with that. It wasn't just, oh, I'm going to play glam. It was, I'm going to become Ziggy Stardust. You
Right.
know, it
Well,
was,
a part of the problem is though, because like I'm guilty of it. Like my early exposure to Bowie was MTV and
sure.
Modern Love.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's who I thought he was.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
not really who he was.
Right. Right. I was kind of the same way with Lou Reed. Like, Walk on the Wild Side,
Right.
you couldn't get away
Yeah,
from that song.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But then I had a friend who, who really liked the song Perfect Day. He
Oh
had the
yeah.
Transpotting soundtrack. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
What a great
wow.
song. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, this is Lou Reed,
Yeah. Yeah.
and since then I've gone back and looked at him even more, like so yeah, I mean he's an
I
amazing
love
artist
the
too.
I love the idea, like in learning about Lou Reed, I love the idea about him really believing that like you need 3 chords, you know what I mean, and a good story, and that's it. Like he's
Yeah,
like you don't those chords don't even need to fucking change. It's like
right, right.
just you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah,
I love that idea of like yeah, that can be music too, and that can be viable, and that can be impactful and powerful, and like there's
yeah,
something so incredible about the simplicity and the power in simplicity. I was like, wow,
Sure.
it's harder than it's hard to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to keep something simple and still have it resonate, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that there's I'm really into all different kinds of music. So like surf rock,
Mhm.
like uh the Beach Boys
Yeah.
until they got really, really deep into like the harmonies and stuff. But songs like I Get Around and Fun, Fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun and Help Me
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Rhonda, those are
Yeah.
great tunes,
Oh yeah.
man.
Yeah.
But they're
They're
they're so
classics. Yeah.
but they're simple. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Like they're
Totally.
just, just freaking strumming
I know.
along and singing. And
I know.
yeah, if they didn't have the harmonies are what's their
Yeah.
most complicated thing at that point.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and then the Ramones kind of took that, and the Ramones were surf rock, but
Totally.
they were punk. You know what I mean? But they were
Yeah.
totally like the same essence of the Beach Boys.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in upstate New York, a town called Ithaca.
Oh yeah. I know where
So
it is. Sure.
okay, cool. Yeah, it's a really liberal, creative
Uh-huh.
atmosphere.
Okay.
So
Do you still live there, or?
I actually live in southern Indiana now, which
Oh
is
wow.
the
Okay.
other side of the universe as far, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's yeah. I'm super proud to be from the East Coast, but at
Uh-huh.
this point I don't think I'd ever go back there. It's
Yeah.
living in Indiana, it's easier. You
Oh,
know?
totally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just easier, man.
That's why we moved out. That's why we moved like here to Texas. It's like
Yeah,
LA is it's just hard living. You know what I mean? It's like,
sure. Yeah, yeah, man. And I'm not saying like there's things that I miss. I miss the food so much.
yeah, of
But
course. Yeah.
and I miss being around people who aren't diametrically opposed to almost everything that I believe. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I've created my own world here with my kid and
Cool.
yeah, I mean it's good. It's
Nice.
but yeah, upstate Ithaca is actually really like, man, the music scene in Ithaca, being 18 and being able to go out to these clubs, and with us being 6 hours from New York,
Mhm.
lots of up and coming bands would stop in Ithaca before they went on to national stuff. And then just there was a huge ska scene in the 90s. And so I got really into ska music, which, kind of before ska exploded, and I'd be like, oh, this isn't real ska, but I still loved it. It was cool that it was getting a bunch of attention. There's a big folk scene, funk and reggae. I mean, it's just, at least this was, in the late 80s and early 90s. This is what I was exposed to there. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
That's
but it
cool.
was, yeah. Did you actually, are you from Texas, or where are you from?
No, I grew up in a small town in New Mexico,
Oh, cool. Oh,
in Las Cruces,
okay.
um, and then went to college in Dallas, and
Gotcha.
um, then I was in Europe. I was in Europe for years and years, like
Sure.
doing stuff, and then
Sure.
yeah, and then have moved back here. I still have a lot of friends that never left Dallas,
Right. Right.
and so
I've
yeah.
never been, but I love the idea of the desert, honestly.
Yeah, desert's cool. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll tell you that we used to get really good concerts because it was a university town.
Sure.
New Mexico State University was there,
Yeah.
or is there. My dad was a professor at the university, and he'd always he knew when the shows were coming, and the show that I remember the time when I thought I really wanted to be a rock star was U2 had come
Ah,
in 1987,
okay.
Joshua Tree tour,
Sure.
and I was up in the nosebleeds. But I do remember I was like, oh my God, I want to be down there,
Yeah.
looking up this way. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, it just blew my, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the pivotal moment in my, I was nowhere near trying to become a musician, but I do remember thinking, gosh,
Yeah.
I really would love to be able to move people like I
The
was being
connection.
moved. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Right. Well, my uncle was actually in a band called the Flash Cubes.
Okay.
They were a power pop band. Super heavy on the Raspberries influence and the Beatles
Okay.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And they got huge in Japan
Oh,
to the
cool.
point where like they went over there and played in stadiums.
No
And
way.
it's insane. Yeah, yeah. Like my uncle Steve, Artie Lennon, professionally,
Okay. Really? That was his
he
name?
came. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He got it legally changed, so his name is Artie Lennon now. But
Nice.
but yeah,
Nice.
he was a rock star in Japan.
Crazy.
And then his band Screen Test, which was his second band, they were more new wave.
Okay.
Got on MTV a little bit. Um,
Nice.
when Rhino did the Nuggets series, they put a couple of their songs on there.
Okay.
So it was just to me, being a young kid, it seemed like something I could do. Like
Yeah.
I knew Uncle Steve wasn't famous in
Right.
America, but he
Right.
was on the radio sometimes, and he was a
Yeah.
rock star in
Yeah.
Japan. So
Yeah.
why can't I do that? You
Totally.
know? Um,
You
so it
play
was
you
cool.
play like you play guitar, I'm assuming, right?
I don't actually. I just write vocal melodies and sing.
Okay.
Oh, so I was in a band when I was about 18, and my rhythm guitar player
Mhm.
tried to teach me how to play guitar.
Okay.
And his he was like, I want you to practice every day. I want you to play Smoke on the Water on one string. And he
Okay.
was like, and if you can get the rhythm of that and you can get that going, then then we'll move on to the next thing. I tried to learn to play Smoke on the Water on one string for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it just my fingers just wouldn't do it, man.
Yeah.
I just don't, and then I messed around on keyboard a little bit, but I'm not proficient enough. The reason that I started wanting to learn how to play piano keyboard was because I wanted to learn how to play Maybe I'm Amazed.
Oh, cool.
I
Okay.
just thought it was such an amazing song and
Oh
I
yeah,
wanted to
it's
be able to
incredible.
play it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
but I couldn't play it. I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Right.
I wish that I could play an instrument. I tried playing saxophone. I mean, it's
Okay.
just and maybe it's kind of what you said where it's hard to follow through like singing is easy for me and writing songs is easy for me.
Yeah.
And I would pick up these instruments and just not be able to do it. And I just,
Yeah, I get frustrated.
but yeah, it was just like I said, I just singing's easy for me and writing songs is easy for me. Um, it's just something I've always been able to do, and learning an instrument wasn't. Um, it was
Yeah.
just really hard and frustrating, and I could never figure it out, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately, yeah,
There's still time. There's still time.
yeah, for sure. I'd still like to be able to play piano. Honestly,
Mhm.
maybe I'll pick up lessons when I retire. Who knows?
Yeah.
A few years away,
That's cool.
Um, so now you do Sakurasi? Is that the documentary stuff?
Yeah, I
Yes.
do. So through the music stuff, I started directing my own music videos, and then got asked to direct other people's music videos, and that was kind of my entryway into all the film stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I just really fell in love with that whole thing, like both being in front of the camera and editing. Like I love to edit almost as much as I like to shoot. So, and the idea of I loved the idea and still do of being one person in control over both parts and not having to wait to send the edit out. And I just like to be able to shoot it. I can dump it down into the computer and then make a video, and then I can, and it's my vision. I did it. And so, yeah, I ended up doing a bunch of music videos, like a lot of music videos, and some music videos for like um some like up and coming and like important artists, because I became kind of the content guy for this radio station called 98.7 in LA, and they had me kind of shoot all the new bands that were coming, that were kind of up and coming. We're pretty like, Imagine Dragons was about to hit, and Mumford and Sons and Fun and like all those bands. We would all have them in, and then I started to shoot their videos, like
Nice.
their first video, and which was cool. And then they were like, "Hey, do you want to interview all these guys?" I'm like, "I'd love to." Great. So then I became kind of like the on air interviewer. They'd come into the station. I'd interview all the bands, on video. So then I started Rockarazzi. And Rockarazzi was this idea of like if Rolling Stone were to hit the streets and
Mm.
be like a street reporter, like what would that look like? And so got a camera, and we were living, near Beverly Hills at the time. All the paparazzi stuff was going crazy. So I would go to these restaurants and I hung out with all the paparazzi and I knew all of them. And my whole lane, right, back to the lane idea, was like, what if I talked to a celebrity about music? Like, would
Mm.
they engage? Because at the time, TMZ was just blowing up, right? And everybody hated TMZ. They were like the Antichrist, right? They were the devil. And so I'm like, I'm gonna be the good guy. I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna talk to Al Pacino about like what his first concert was, like as he's walking out of a restaurant.
Oh,
So it just worked and it blew up. And so what had happened at that point was the paparazzi started to kind of follow me around because they knew if I were there that I would engage a celebrity long enough for them to get their shot because they would talk to me. I'd be doing interviews with like Robert Duvall and you name it. Like I've got them all, and
that's awesome.
talking to him about music because everybody loves me. It's the community. It's the connection that you mentioned earlier. So yeah, I did Rockarazzi a bunch with my wife and I. We would go to all the red carpets and interview people and the whole thing. It was just her and I were like on the streets of Beverly Hills interviewing celebrities. And then the Grammy Foundation started to get wind of like the content. They're like, we really love your content. Will you come do like all the red carpet stuff for the Grammy Foundation? So then we did the Grammy stuff, which was cool. And then TMZ like came knocking and we're like, hey, we really want you to be like the rock guy for TMZ. And I was like, no way. I was like, so I had numerous meetings with Harvey. Like I was in the
Yeah.
office with Harvey and he was like, listen, man, your interviews are great. Here's what we want to set up for you. And I'm like, dude, no. Once I associate with you guys, then my brand is over. And he was like, no, I think you're missing. I go, no. And so I tried to convince Harvey, I'm like, why don't you let me be the good guy? Like, just keep the Rockarazzi name, right? It could be under your umbrella, and I'll be like the good guy interviewer that doesn't piss the celebrities off, right? And he didn't want to do it. And so that thing fizzled out. And then I just kind of spun that into Soccerazzi. And
Nice.
it's all soccer content. I was doing like interviews with soccer players early on. But I really do miss the interaction with the musician, like
Yeah.
especially that caliber of musician. It was cool to learn about those guys and be in the room with them. And so, yeah.
Yeah. That the singer for Fun, Nathan Ruiz,
Yeah.
great voice.
Totally.
That guy's
He's so
great
talented.
voice, man. Jeez.
I don't know what they're doing anymore. I don't know what's happening with them.
So he did an interview where he said once that second record got so huge,
Yeah.
they decided to break up the band because they didn't want to be disappointed by the follow-up.
Oh, wow.
So Fun doesn't exist anymore. He did that single with Pink, and he put out a solo album which no one bought. So maybe he was right. You know what I mean? Maybe it was the right thing to do. But yeah.
Yeah, he has a great voice though.
Yeah, his voice is amazing. That's such a weird idea. Like,
I know.
We hit the pinnacle, let's just call it a day. You know, instead of trying to top it, they were just like, yeah, we don't think we can top this. And they just
who's your favorite band?
My favorite band's Dramarama.
Dude, that is crazy. I heard you mention that before. I saw Dramarama like twice in Dallas.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. I saw them at a Christmas show. Dude, they were awesome. Like I used to love Dramarama in the 90s.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody. There's nobody I've ever asked that has come back and said Dramarama is my favorite band. Yeah, never.
Oh man. Dude, so I saw them on their last tour when Clem Burke was playing drums for them.
Oh, I interviewed
Which
Clem
was
actually. Not
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, he was a really laid back guy, man. He was just kind
totally.
of sitting at the bar drinking, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I mean, he's done so much. You know,
yeah,
the guy's been on some great records, man.
yeah.
But yeah, so I saw them, and I got to meet John, and I got to meet Chris Carter, and I got to meet Clem, and it was really, really cool because John Easdale comes walking in, and I'm at the bar, or not at the bar, at a table right next to the door, drinking with a buddy of mine who was in a band called Brother Meat.
Okay.
And he was there to see Slim Dunlop, who was in the Replacements. He was opening for them. So he was like, "Oh, it's Replacements guys here. I'm going to go to the show." But John comes walking in the door, and I jump in front of him. I almost have a heart attack. You know, I'm 20, and this guy's my hero. You know, and I stuck my hand out to him, and I said, "I'm Keith," and he said, "I'm Johnny," and I said, "I know." And then and then I had him sign my jacket, and he was like, "I've got to go play." And I was like, "Cool, man." So he goes and he does the show. After the show, I go up to him again, and he said, "Thanks for coming, Keith." He remembered my name after playing a whole set and setting up and doing sound check and all of that. Remembered my name, and I said, "Thanks for playing, John." And he kind of shrugged, which was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, before the show,
this is in New York?
Yeah. This was at a place called The Haunt.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I met Chris before the show. I told him that I loved him and I, was a huge fan. I'd been listening to him for years. And then afterwards, he said, "You knew all the words to the songs." So it's funny to think about like that they actually
paying attention.
Yeah, they were paying attention to what I was doing out in the crowd when they were playing. And I just said, "I told you I was a fan, dude." I mean, I love you guys.
Where's that band from?
They're from New Jersey.
Okay, I knew.
They're from Wayne. Yeah, so they're from Wayne, New Jersey, but they couldn't get a record deal in America, so they got a record deal in Paris or in France. This label called New Rose, and then Rodney on the Rock. I'm not going to attempt to say his. I was going to say I'm not going to attempt to say his last name. But he got a New Rose sampler and started playing Dramarama. He started playing Anything, and he thought they were from France. So he's like, "There's this great new French band, Dramarama."
Yeah.
And then they eventually heard they were getting played on K-Rock. Got a hold of Rodney. Rodney was like, "You should come out here. I'll get you on all these festivals. You'll become famous." So then they moved to LA, and they've basically been an LA band.
Okay.
From then on, Chris Carter started hosting Breakfast for the Beatles, which he's probably more famous for than Dramarama. Because Breakfast with the Beatles is the longest running Beatles show on the radio. But yeah, I love Dramarama. I think his lyrics, John Easdale's lyrics are so clever, but so relatable at the same time. Yeah. And their music is just, I don't know, it's everything I love. It's power pop, it's roots rock, it's hard rock. It's just so good. I mean,
It's funny when I think of Dramarama, it was the time when I was listening. There was two other bands that were on rotation in my CD, and one of them was School of Fish.
Okay.
Remember School of Fish?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Three Strange Days.
Yes, I used to love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And there was another, I can't remember. Oh my gosh, I think it was Toad the Wet Sprocket was the other.
Okay.
Was the other one. That was those three bands were always playing in college.
Toad the Wet Sprocket put on one of the best live shows I've ever seen.
Really, yeah.
They're such good musicians. Like they're locked in. They play those songs. There's no mistakes in a Toad the Wet Sprocket show. You know what I mean? They play those songs like they're a part of them. Yeah, they're great. Yeah. Cool. I actually just saw Blue October.
Yeah,
and Switchfoot. And Matt Nathanson. And it was such an amazing concert. Live music is just, man.
Totally. Yeah. I love Switchfoot for a bit too. I was into those guys. And Blue October, that guy that was working on my record is good friends with those guys.
Oh, cool.
Is there a
Blue
look?
October's changed so much.
Yeah.
Justin got sober and got a good relationship with his daughter, and now they're like a new wave band. But I mean, it's cool. You know, I like new wave. So whatever.
That's the death of every artist. Happiness.
Yeah, you got happy, man.
Yeah.
But I still dig it. There's so many people who don't like them anymore because they're like, oh, I loved it when they were sad and dark, and they're not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they play the old songs now, Justin ends it with like some life affirming message.
Oh,
like it's like it gets better. This isn't the end. Here's a happy song. So it's interesting, man.
Wow. Okay, that is.
They still play the old stuff, but
Gotcha.
But they kind of put a disclaimer on it when they're done. So
that's fascinating, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never seen anyone, do that. But,
yeah.
It's funny because I don't know what it was about Switchfoot, but they always reminded me of the Goo Goo Dolls. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like the Goo Goo Dolls later period, obviously.
Yeah. I never
it's weird.
Sort of like a guilty pleasure for me, the Goo Goo Dolls. I never was into them. But,
Buffalo,
Yeah, I know.
They're from upstate New York. Yeah, so they were kind of all over the place.
Without the Goo Goo Dolls, there'd be no Open G songs. Like
right. Without the Goo Goo Dolls, there'd be no The World I Know by Collective Soul, because that's the same damn song as Iris, and nobody ever talks about it. It's the same song. Yeah. So, yeah, I love both those songs, but Collective Soul totally ripped off the Goo Goo Dolls when they're
still going. Collective Soul, I saw.
Their ticket prices are outrageous.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, and few $100s, for a good seat. Yeah, I don't get it. I love Collective Soul personally. I think they're one of the bands that kind of kept hard rock going in the '90s, even though people think of them as an alternative band. But I'm not paying $300 to see them.
That's outrageous.
I was so excited to see Depeche Mode on this new tour until I found out the tickets were $600 in Indiana. So I can't imagine how much they are in LA, or Dallas or anywhere like a major market. Like,
no, it's
$600.
I don't know what's happening to ticket prices. It's like,
it's crazy, man. Yeah, I go to a lot of concerts and I don't pay more than $100 for a ticket. That's where I keep it at. So if they can't, if they can't provide me with that, then I'm not going to go see them. It's just.
I mean, my favorite band of all time is Pearl Jam. Right, they're my favorite band. Like that's I was so like I really respected them about the ticket prices.
Yeah, the Ticketmaster thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but like even they've succumbed to like their ticket prices are outrageous now too. So it's like
right. They've been famous for a long time, man. I feel like it's hard not to change when you've been famous for a long time. It's just hard. But so I actually went to the second Lollapalooza.
Okay.
And I was with some friends of mine. Well, it was one friend and a bunch of her friends. And we drove a few hours to get there, and it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
So, I think we were in Saratoga Springs, and we were just like, let's get some pizza. There was this little pizza place we'd never heard of. So we got the pizza, and then when it stopped raining, we decided, then we were like, okay, let's go to the concert. We missed the first two acts, Lush and Pearl Jam.
Right.
Because Pearl Jam went on second. Like, who thought Pearl Jam was going to go on second, man?
No,
so I get there, and Jesus and Mary Chain is playing, and I'm like, okay, I'll see Pearl Jam. No, never saw Pearl Jam.
Have you seen them since, though?
I never did. I never got a chance, man.
Do you like them or no?
Oh, I love Pearl Jam. Yeah, absolutely.
A live Pearl Jam show has to be experienced. You have to. I mean.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I want to see them sometime, but now
I know.
I think it's just hard.
Especially especially if you're into kind of community and connection through music.
Yeah.
That's one of those bands when you see live that you're like, wow, like there's something going on in the room.
Right.
A lot, like the majority of those fans, like a Dead fan base or Fish. You know what I mean? Like they've been to 100 shows. And so these people, they all come together, they all know each other. And it's really one of these kind of magical environments. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
it was so right as we're walking, well, no, it wasn't right as we were walking. I was just walking around, I think, in between bands. this guy comes flying by me on a mountain bike. It's Jeff Ament.
Yeah.
And I stopped him and I was like, dude, just ride your
No
bike.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he signed my ticket, and I told him that we missed him because we didn't want to come out during the rain. It was a big rainstorm, so we waited for the storm to be over. And he was like, "Oh man, Chris Cornell was out here mudsliding with the crowd."
Oh, no
He was
way.
like, "Oh, you missed a lot." And then I was like, "Man." And he goes, "So next time you come to this venue, uh, there's some woods on the other side of the stage that aren't fenced off and people aren't paying attention to." And I was riding my bike by there and I saw a bunch of people getting in for free.
Oh,
So
nice.
Jeff Ament told me how to sneak in. He was like,
Love it.
and I never went back. Saratoga Springs wasn't close, but he was like, "So next time you come here, man, don't get a ticket. Just sneak in through the woods." And I was like, "Thanks,
That's
man.
cool.
That's awesome."
That's a
Yeah.
great story. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know,
That was really cool.
have you watched the it's called Lala.
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, yeah, it's on. I want to say it's on like I don't know if it's Netflix or Hulu
Okay.
maybe, but it's Perry Farrell kind of his story about Lollapalooza.
Okay.
It's
Interesting.
a documentary. I think it's
Right.
a series, like a 3-part series. It's really cool though.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. The first 2 years of that
Yeah,
were amazing. You know,
yeah,
I don't even remember the third year lineup, but the first 2 years were incredible. I mean,
yeah.
dude, I got to see Soundgarden, Ice Cube, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers in the same night.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
it's
gave
really
up a chance to see when I was in college here in Dallas, and it was
Yeah.
91.
Okay.
And I think I had just got Nirvana's record, I think.
Okay.
I think I just got it. Yeah, I just got it. And I remember listening to Nevermind, and like I think like everybody was like,
Right. What is
my head,
this? Yeah.
yeah, my head exploded. I was like, oh my God, what I don't even know what this is.
Right.
But so my buddy calls me up. He was this drummer in this band at the time. He's like, "Hey man, I got a extra ticket for Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden. They're gonna play at the Bronco Bowl."
Wow.
I'm like, I don't even know who those other bands were. And I was
Right.
like,
Right.
and I just blew it off. I'm like, nah, I'm
Man.
gonna
So
just go eat pizza.
that's funny. So Soundgarden actually ended up being one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
But when I heard their early stuff, like
Mhm.
I was really into 80s hard rock,
Mhm.
you know, more of the underground stuff, like the funk metal and the blues metal and stuff, but
Okay.
still like that was what I was into.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand Soundgarden, you know, like
Yeah.
all the feedback and the
Yeah.
wailing and all that. I just didn't get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then Bad Motorfinger came out, and
Yeah.
holy crap.
Yeah.
Like,
That was the record, man.
yeah, man. So then I went back and now that I'm older, you know, even then, I mean, I think I was about 18, 19 when I started going back and getting their older stuff, and I could appreciate it more because I was exposed to that kind of music more at that
Yeah.
point. But like yeah, Bad Motorfinger was just
Yeah.
perfect.
Totally.
You know, sonically. I mean, that album just sounds
Yeah.
so good, and
Yeah.
he's such a great lyricist. So
Totally. And
Yeah.
like as much as I love Pearl Jam, right? Like Matt Cameron to me like is the wrong drummer for that band. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like Pearl Jam
yeah,
for me was the best. Like Matt Cameron was perfect for Soundgarden because
yeah.
they're playing all these weird time signatures and he loved
Right.
all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. He was a jazz drummer.
Oh,
So,
right, yeah.
yeah.
So that's really kind of he belonged in a band like that, you know?
Right.
But yeah, when Pearl Jam's first couple of records with Dave Ambrosetti.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a great drummer, that guy.
Yeah. Did you so when he left the band, I read an interview with him where he was talking about how, you know, the first album did so well, second album did so well, and he was so happy.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, we're rock stars now. This is great. And he looked around at the other guys in the band, and they were still so depressed and so trying to, and he said it was like I was jumping around in a circle of joy by myself.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
I read the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read a lot of
Oh,
stuff about him.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
my buddy knows him actually really well.
oh, cool.
He he's Dave is like he can't come back into the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What happened?
he's in because he's got like drug charges on him.
Oh, man.
And he can't come back in. He's like in Bali or something.
Wow.
And yeah, and he's like does these kind of drum like he still records for people like virtual he
Sure.
does these virtual sessions for
Sure.
people, but yeah, he got really wrapped up into some bad stuff.
Oh, that
Uh,
sucks, man.
yeah, blew a bunch of money, had to sell all his gear and
Man, that
yeah,
sucks.
yep, yep.
Jeez. Hate stuff like that,
I
man.
know, I know.
Yeah, well, this is like a different story now, but I mean, the original drummer for Dramarama
Mhm.
got really into like Hindu music and spiritual music
Okay.
and just disappeared when they were going to record their third album. He was just gone. No one knew where he was.
Yeah.
And he ended up over in India recording as Anat Jesse
Oh,
and
okay.
making these like really, I mean, complicated, like crazy songs with like drum circles and chanting. And I mean, I like it. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's interesting to listen to, but that's where he went. He just disappeared to go make spiritual music. Um and then he passed away kind of suddenly a couple years
Oh,
ago, but
okay.
yeah.
Shit.
But it's crazy. Like that's where it took him. You know, that's
Yeah.
where his journey took him. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. But we've kind of gone all over the place,
I
man.
know,
It's been
man. I
fun.
know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
been a good
super
time,
fun.
dude.
Yeah. I really appreciate you having me on and
Yeah, absolutely. So two things before we go. The first thing
yeah.
is I will lay out the red carpet. Um, I need to stop watching Hot Ones because I stole that by accident. That's what the guy on Hot Ones says at the end. I'll lay out the red carpet.
Listen,
And I just started saying it too. It just clicked in my brain. That's what the Hot Ones guy says.
that's
But anyway,
okay, man. Like, listen, that guy, he's really become a very good interviewer. He's
oh,
excellent.
yeah, he's amazing. I kind of try to do what he does,
Yeah, he's
honestly.
excellent. Yeah.
Like he's him and Craig Ferguson without all the flirting. But Craig Ferguson was kind of brilliant, I think.
Yep.
But anyway, and no comedy. I tried stand up. I'm not a comedian.
All right. I'll go. Not for
But
everybody.
anyway, yeah. So yeah, I'll lay out the red carpet.
Okay.
What have you got coming up? We've kind of talked about it, but where can
Yeah.
people find you?
Yep. So I have a website called Soccerazzi, SOCCERRAZZI.com, and that's for soccer stuff, which probably a very small percentage of people listening to this are going to be hitting me up for soccer content, but that's all right. And then yeah, you can reach me on there for any kind of music videos or any kind of content creation. And I've got an alien documentary film that's kind of blowing up. That's going to go onto Netflix, I think, probably next year. So
Awesome.
look out for that. And a new record coming out at some point. So
Cool.
all sorts of weird stuff. The alien thing, I'll send you a link, a private link to that. That
Oh, I
thing is
definitely want
out
to check
there.
that out.
That
Awesome.
thing is out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that
I
for
met
sure.
two people that swear they were abducted by.
Interesting.
Yep. And so I recorded them. They came out to Los Angeles. They stayed with me for 2 weeks, and I kind of secretly recorded their story with them, sort of knowing, not knowing.
Right.
And man, it is a crazy story. Yeah.
Yeah, I was obsessed with alien abduction when I was a kid.
Oh,
So,
dude, you're gonna love this then. You'll
yeah,
love
I definitely want to check it out. And
it.
then
Okay, cool.
the last thing that we ask everyone,
Yeah.
so
Scary.
you had the injury that
Yeah.
kind of ended your athletic career.
Yeah.
And honestly, you could have stopped then, and just gone on with a normal life, if you will. But you've done so much since then. And what is it that keeps you creating? What is it that drives you to create and to continue to put stuff out in the world?
Yep, that's a super good question. I think the obvious answer is that it does something to my soul that it's when I'm the happiest is when I'm creating. And that to me is kind of the reason why I get up, aside from my family. But I think the idea of creating something out of thin air, whether it's a physical or tangible thing or something that you can leave to your family or your family's family, something that is kind of legacy building. I think I've always been interested in that. Like, what are you going to leave behind? And I'm trying to leave some stuff behind that I think has some value and that can enrich somebody's life, make somebody smile, feel good. I mean, listen, if you don't accidentally get my record in some bizarre twist of fate, we don't have this conversation. You could have thought the record was garbage. We're not having the conversation. So, we got a chance to meet and have a cool conversation and connect. And hopefully this isn't the last time we connect. And it's because of music. It's because of something that was creative happened and brought us together. So I kind of think that's the whole point,
Awesome, man. Yeah. This has been so fun.
Yeah.
It's been a cool conversation, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Listen, just say that this is the best conversation you've had in all of the podcasts you've done. Tyler will just put that on a loop, and she's just gonna loop that.
Awesome.
All right.
Good deal, man. Yeah, Tyler, get on that. Thanks. I appreciate it. Take care,
Tyler,
man.
thanks for your help, dude. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the shout out. Thanks to Tyler, M&E Studios. Couldn't do this without him. Almost forgot. I was so caught up in our conversation. So, all right. And thanks for watching the Most Excellent Entertainment Podcast and listening. And take care.
This is the most excellent podcast, by the way. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. All right, bye, guys.
All right.